Welcome to My Cousin Innie, where we talk about Severance from Apple TV. I am Jamie G, and I'm back with my cousin from the dozen, Magnum Mills, to talk about the ninth episode of season two, titled The After Hours. And no, Mills, this was not featuring The Weeknd's album, The After Hours.
Well, thank God for small miracles. And, all hail our main man, Milchek, and Jamie G, of course. He intended to utilize a much grander example of verbiage, such as penultimate. Luckily for him, luckily for y'all, we do not really care whether you use the little words or the big words here on My Cousin Innie. We are presented by Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. You can find our content wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Find us on social media at Dudes Watch Stuff and on the web at dudeswatchstuff.com. Very easy to remember, just like the flaps. FLAPS. Follow, like, and please subscribe. If you had fun, please remember to hit the thumb.
From this point forward, there are going to be full-on spoilers for every single episode of Severance, as well as any articles, podcasts, interviews. If it's out there, it's fair game. This is your first and final warning. And if you don't know, now you know. You guys know we always begin by acknowledging the people who made this episode. Mills, go ahead, pay a little homage for the great folks over in Severance.
Once again, the Weeknd had nothing to do with this. This is the After Hours Season 2, Episode 9, the 18th overall episode of Severance, originally released March 14th, 2025, directed by Uta Briezowitz. This is her second directing credit on the show, written by showrunner, show creator Dan Erickson. This is his sixth written by credit on Severance. Guest stars include Merritt Weaver as Gretchen George, Robbie Benson as Dr. Mauer, Olafur Daria Ollison as Mr. Drummond, and Michael Sidbury as James Egan. The short plot synopsis is Mark and Devon team with an ally. Helly investigates further. And Jamie G, let's go ahead and investigate your overall thoughts on this one. After having two episodes where we didn't get a lot of the main cast, we're back here. Big setup episode for an overly long season finale. What do you think? Overall thoughts on the penultimate episode, The After Hours?
It was about what I expected. I was hoping for a little bit more kind of firework factory here, but obviously I think that's coming in the 10th episode. I thought it was really good just in terms of kind of how they set stuff up. They made it feel like tons of stuff happened, but it was really just a couple of things kind of moving the can down the road towards what we think is going to be kind of the ultimate finish. So I thought this was good for what it was, but we slightly anticlimactic if I had to make kind of one gripe with it.
I think that's very fair. They didn't really have a lot of narrative choices here. You had to get stuff moving. You had to get everybody in place for the finale. And really, three of the previous four episodes weren't set in the main Lumen workplace, really in the main plot line. So, ton of work to do. They definitely advanced a bunch of those plots in ways I think were semi-expected, but just unexpectedly quick. I don't think, even Miss Wang was like, hey, what's the deal here? I thought I was going to get to stick around to the end of this thing. Are you really just sticking me on the bus now? So I think there was a little bit of that also with Irving and Dylan. It is what it is. I'm very curious to see if some of these characters are going to turn back up in the finale or they're kicking the can all the way into season 3. So, it kind of is what it is. Very excited to see Milchek stand up for himself. I am curious as to where this will go. Is this the beginning of something, or is he just going to have, not going to have Mr. Drummond breathing down his neck anymore? I'm very curious to see how that goes. And you are right, it's definitely not a Game of Thrones situation where they used to do it huge in the penultimate episode, and then the season finale was kind of like a simmer down and a setup for next year. I think we're going full bore. I think everyone is expecting that we're going to end the season on another cliffhanger. That's okay. I don't really have any problem with it. But getting into the episode, one thing I had a little bit of problem with was that opening scene with the eggs, man. That was just creepy. I mean, anytime we can work an old dirty bastard reference into Severance, we are there for it. Baby, Jamie Egan likes it raw apparently, but this whole thing was just wildly uncomfortable. The whole just the ceremony, right, of cutting the egg and arranging it a certain way, the way she ate it. And I believe she's using even real silverware, which apparently you're not supposed to do with eggs. I'm not a big egg man, just like Ben Stiller, so it's not something I really knew, but it just seems like everything about that situation was messed up, right? Any kind of thoughts on that opening? It was like, in a hostage situation where they bring in the meal or something, or people are watching you eat. It was just weird and it felt very wrong.
Well, you're spot on, and it was uncomfortable, is what it was, and you put yourself in Helena's shoes, and she comes to visit her father, and she's, will you eat? Will you join me? And he's like, I'll watch. Nope, I never want to go eat with anyone in front of me where they're not eating and they're just watching. Extremely uncomfortable. I will say I've never seen anybody break down a boiled egg like that. Like that was awesome, dude, and split into like perfectly even things. Great, I mean, great cutlery here with the plate. That was super awesome with the design on it. I love how she had it like rays of a sun all the way around it there with the rim. So, and dude, she can eat an egg, bro. She can. That is grace and elegance. She really knows how to do it. So creepy, weird, uncomfortable. But also I think served a purpose of just how bad this relationship is with her and her father and how he sees her. So I think it served a purpose, but very uncomfortable to watch.
And I bet you she eats a candy bar with a fork and knife as well. So just yet another Seinfeld reference turning up here on Severance. Also, an interesting note when she tells James that they're seeing to Mr. Bailiff. And then we see Bert pick him up, take him for a ride. That was also scary in kind of a different way, right? You see Radar sitting there when Irving walks into his house, and at least they let the man keep his dog. That was very nice. And we reference HBO sometimes. Really random here. Radar was played by the same dog who played Tom and Shiv's dog in Succession.
Ah,
So there's your Succession Severance connection right there. Radar has appeared in both shows. What do you think? Was Bert really supposed to come and take him for a ride, and that's what Helena was talking about, or was he just doing that to save Irving, as we see him ultimately do? Send him away to save his skin, so to speak. Do you think that was always the play? Like they were getting Bert to either take care of him or send him away, or do you think she was referring to something else entirely, and that's what Bert saved him from?
yeah, I guess that's the big question, right? I mean, it doesn't seem like the Lumen thing to do would just be to like take him on a nice, creepy, but nice ride and just let him go. So that I think that was the one thing that was pretty interesting there for me is it seems like the thing that they would do is make sure that his Audi doesn't exist anymore either. So I'm gonna lean on, I guess he's kind of did him a favor here because he loved him but can't love him. But he was to do something else. And he referenced in there, he's never hurt anybody. He's just taking them to where they go after he drops them off. It's not his concern. So
Yeah, there's some fun speculation on that we will save. Obviously, everything about that is heartbreaking. In my head, I'm guessing that he was supposed to bring him back to Lumen or to one of their other facilities or something like that. And so he just called an audible, and we can, speculate whether or not they'll get him in trouble. But man, just absolutely heartbreaking goodbye between the two. And then you have the parallels from season one. Remember, Irving wasn't ready. Now he's ready, and now Bert's the one who's kind of backing out of it. They do the forehead touch thing, and it's Irving's ready to go there. Bert's just like, I can't. It does seem that Lumen has some hold over him too, right? He's like, I can't know where you go. I don't know if they can download his brain or you can't lie to him or they're torturing him, but it seems like Lumen still definitely has a hold over him. So he doesn't even dare try this, even though it seems pretty obvious they both want to. And nobody is mentioning Fields anywhere. So I feel bad for you, John Noble. Will we see you in the finale? Maybe, maybe not. But no one was thinking about you in this episode, I think.
they weren't, and I wish they were. And Mills, that's an interesting point. But did you take this as Bert? Because we kind of hinted at this on that episode with Bert and Fields where he goes over there. Did you kind of feel um, like 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 Bert's working for Lumen still, and maybe they're more involved than what was let on, and here he kind of is doing some of the dirty work and stuff. And so, did you kind? I mean, I know we could save some of that for predictions, but did this solidify for you that Bert is more ingrained in Lumen than what we thought, say, at the beginning of the season?
Absolutely. I guess the only thing could be it's a little bit of a fake out, and maybe it's Cobell who called Bert to get Irving out, maybe. So I suppose there's a chance, but I would put it at like 75% he's still somehow working for Lumen, and then 25% he's not, maybe. So I think it's more likely than not, but I don't think it's guaranteed. And again, who knows if he has multiple innies or something like that. There's a lot of situations that could be going on here. I mean, secret Egans are in play. Maybe he just is an Egan. I heard other speculation. Maybe he could have been involved with how Gemma ultimately faked her death. There's some interesting stuff there. He could have, been, drivers don't just drive, Jamie G. At least in my experience of watching, the various mob and criminal movies. Usually the driver isn't just a driver. It's more complex than that.
Yeah, just ask Oswald Cobb. He'll tell you.
And Bert gets a couple of fun lines here. I do like when you're right. He tries to just lay it out there.
I drove people places and asked what happened to them once they got there.
I mean, to me, I've heard that before. Bert has operated an Uber in the Gentlemen's Club district. That's their code of conduct down there. So he is also working for Uber. So we have determined that maybe in this universe, Lumen owns Uber. It could be, maybe not. Anything else kind of on the emotional aspect of it? I mean, we'll have to speculate whether or not we think this is the end. But I feel like at the bare minimum, we're not getting any more Burton Irving this season. If he comes back around, I feel it will be unrelated to this. But I do think if Lumen told him to take him somewhere, and he didn't, he could be in trouble, and we might see the consequences of that in the finale.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the only thing that we didn't mention is just maybe why and how Irving knew Bert could have been a low-level Lumen enforcer or a goon, a Lumen goon, which is like how did he know that and what led him to think that?
Well, I was in the notebook, the notes we saw in the season one finale. We still have no idea how he got those. And I'm assuming we'll find that out when we find out whoever he's calling on the phone. I think those two things probably have to be tied together. And I will assume we'll learn them both at once. But at this point, I am not really expecting to learn that this season. I mean, Helly doesn't get a lot to do here. I do feel bad. Usually when everyone gets off the elevator on the severed floor, they're kind of whatever, man. Helly got out of that elevator. She was so happy, and then it was so sad. She goes to MDR, no one's working. But it was awesome when she got to go to Milchek's office, and she basically figured out the cheat code, right? She's like, I'm an Egan. You can't actually really do anything to me. Like, I have to be here. She kind of just gained that ultimate power, and you can tell it pissed Milchek off. And what I wonder is, we will get into what he says to Mr. Drummond in a bit, but did Helly inspire that with the way she kind of one-upped him? And then Milchek kind of thought about it from the way she thought about it. Like, well, they need me. Like, why is he giving me shit about what stuff that's outside of my control? So do you think Helly inspired Milchek at all?
Maybe a little bit. And the show did such, let's just give them credit here. They did such a good job of kind of teasing this Milchek heel turn here, where he's turning heel and you could see him kind of maybe taking a different stance. We saw it a couple times, early on with the paintings and the scolding and the different things that have happened throughout the season here. I think they did such a great job, and maybe he just, it was kind of straw that broke the camel's back. He just needed one little push to kind of get there, and he's here. And so I think it's yes, she helped, but I think it's a combination of everything we've seen throughout the whole season.
Yeah, just even the little bits here at the end when he kind of tells her, like, this is insubordination, right? And she's like, yeah, no shit. Just and he does happen to bring the shit back around to Drummond. So, and this is probably a good a spot as any. And I am going to talk a little bit about this because spoiler, this may or may not be my favorite scene of the episode. But man, I just loved it because you could see it coming, right? Mr. Drummond starts to just push it a little bit too far, and you can just kind of see the gears turning and the steam coming out of Milchek's ears, and he finally just, devoured feculence, and then he just breaks it down for him, and Drummond just can't even handle it. He's just like, what did you say to me? Oh my goodness, what did you say to me? That's one of my favorite scenes of the entire show, I think. I'm assuming you also enjoyed this one.
Yeah, dude, it was incredible. And not only was it funny and witty and awesome, but Milchek was right when he said two things. One, I'm deserve some level of respect even from my superiors. And two, I only control what happens on the severed floor, not what he does outside of work. And actually, that's Drummond's fault. Absolutely love that how he put it back on him there because he's right. And of course it's relatable to anybody who's been through corporate America, but I thought it was really cool with the show how they kind of that was his pushback. And then of course he hits him with just the most epic line. Dude, it's way up there. Like top 10 things I've ever heard that I love. It's probably on the list. It was so good, dude. So good.
And it's a little bit of a payoff I think when we saw his performance review, and one of the complaints was he was using needlessly complex words, we just assumed that was Miss Huang complaining because of her age. But that was definitely Drummond then, right? Because everyone else uses all kinds of big words. Why is it just Milchek that's being singled out by him? So I feel like it's either them just messing with Milchek for a specific reason, or Mr. Drummond just does not like the big words, even though he himself uses them. So maybe he's just a dick.
Eat shit, Mr. Drummond.
He's got a good beard, big dude, but he kind of sucks.
Yeah, the Daily Devour, dude. The Daily Devour of feculence.
One question, I don't want to quite get fully into the Mark stuff yet, but we did get that phone call from Mark to Milchek. And at one point here, it kind of gives Milchek the chance. He could have really kind of gone in hard on Mark and tried to drag him back in the office. But he kind of like takes a deep breath. He looks at that picture on it behind his desk. You can almost see the tears in his eyes, and he kind of lets Mark out, like, all right, you'll promise you come in tomorrow. What do you think? Was it what happened with Drummond, the way he was treated by him? Why do you think in that, there's a lot riding on Cold Harbor being done that day. Why do you think Milchek kind of reached down and let Mark slide?
Well, I think Milchek is starting to trust his own intuition with things, and I think he's got a plan. And when you saw him have that moment, that stand, his moment there with Drummond, I think he that carried over here. He took a big pause before he granted him the okay and got his promise and his that he would be in tomorrow. I think there's a plan in place here, and I think he was kind of playing checker or playing chess here when Mark might have been playing checkers with the excuse.
Okay, I'm so there for there being more to the Milchek plot that he has secretly been working his own angle this whole season, or even if he has teamed up with Cobell or somebody else. I'm there for just all the Milchek, I think. I don't know if we're quite into Uncle Baby Billy territory here, but yeah, I am there very, very much there for the Milchek. How about the opening scene of him with Ms. Wang? And for what it's worth, I did not have Eustace on my bingo card as her first name. I have not heard that first name in many a moon. She's also very disappointed. She's not going to be finishing out the quarter. And did Milchek take a little bit too much pleasure in smashing her toy there? I mean, he makes her hit it 3 times with her award bus there. I don't know, man. It seemed like he did, it was a little bit personal there, maybe. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and it was the whole thing was creepy and weird as it was, but you could tell he took tremendous joy in delivering this message to her, and I thought it was a little bit of a flex on his part given their history.
Yeah, you'd like to think deep down maybe they were not as combative as it would appeared, but they did not appear to really be working on the same wavelength most of the season. And one thing you have to note here, kind of an odd choice to open the episode with Helena swimming. And then here you get the swimming man in the ring toss gets drowned basically, or he goes from the water to the land, so he drowns like in mammal would by not being able to get oxygen from the water by going to land here. So I think they're trying to say something with that. I don't know if it's about Helena or just about in general, but they're definitely trying to do something here with the symbolism with the water and the swimming. I just don't know that I'm smart enough to figure out exactly what it is.
Yeah, good call on the connectivity there between those two things. I mean, both were symbolic in and of their way, and on a standalone, both of them are a little bit of a head scratcher, particularly Helena swimming.
Yeah, again to the timer opening, it looked really, really cool, and also the flex of swimming laps in your heated pool while you are surrounded by the winter and the snow and everything. Just a nice way to show that you've got it. You've got everything under control. One person who does not appear to have much under control is Gretchen, Dylan's wife. She pretty much blows up his entire existence by telling him that she kissed his innie. Do you think she was just coming clean, or is there more of a motive here or something? Because she seemed to, I don't know if she was trying to help one of them, but she just seemed to make them both miserable.
Well, I think she was overcome with her own guilt and the feeling she was having, and I think she just had to. I don't know that there's anything more complex to it than on this one. Than she just had to come clean, and in doing so, she completely threw him for a loop. I don't know that she thought he was going to react that way. I mean, I don't know why she wouldn't have thought that, but she didn't. That throws him completely. So then she tries to save it by going to the innie, completely destroying him. And in the end, she just destroyed this guy, both his innie and his outie. But I think it was her own guilt. Her own guilt.
It's somewhat ironic. We get it confirmed here. She's a 911 dispatcher. She's there to help people, and here she is just destroying everybody. And man, I know Audi Dillon kind of took it a certain way. I'm sure there's probably a certain number of percentage of dudes be like, "Oh, well, that's fine. It's my body, anyways, right? Like, can you really cheat with me?" I think maybe there's a group of people who would have just let it roll off that way. Obviously Dillon. He also shows here that he is just as capable of it as is Innie when it comes to cursing.
This is so many fucking dimensions of fuck.
I thought that was interesting, but man, dude, Annie Dillon she breaks him. Right? I mean, he legitimately commits suicide. That's how upset he is. I mean, he resigns. Resignation for them, it's been made clear. Remember, he's the one who drags Irving back when Irving's going to do it at the beginning of the season. He's the one who saves Irving. And here he gladly papers every box, dude. Just looks every single box. Like, I'm so done with this. He can't even hand his key to Milchek, just drops it on the desk and is just literally sitting in front of the elevator waiting to die. Dude, that like last Gretchen he yelled, I mean the ring he makes out of the finger trap joint, just absolutely just heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was sad and it was terrible, and interesting how Miss Wang apologized to him that she wasn't more supportive for him. And I had some questions. So, like, in theory, could they just call his Audi and be like, "Hey, you left yesterday. You're due back tomorrow," and just make him come back? I mean, because they kind of control it, don't they?
Right, there was a section on the forum we didn't see. It's like Audi response. So after he does that, remember when Helly tried to resign in season 1, same kind of thing, and they contact her Audi, and it was like no, and then it got to the point where she had to send the video message back, like no, really, no, you're not going anywhere. So it is entirely possible he's just back next episode, but I mean, how productive is he going to be? The other perks weren't working, so then they gave him this perk, and now after this, what could they possibly give him to motivate him anymore, other than getting her back? I mean, maybe there's a way they could do that, but right now it doesn't seem like it seems like they only really need Mark, right? Like the other rest of the team is just there to facilitate Mark getting this last 4% of Cold Harbor, and then who knows if they even really need him anymore. And then, obviously Dylan is really upset and he turns to Helly. I mean, he obviously told her some of the stuff. Do you think he told her pretty much everything that went on there, the whole thing with the visitation suite and the proposal? And I mean, I'm guessing he did. What other he couldn't turn to anybody else to open up to at that point. But I think Hallie definitely goes too far, right? She's like, oh, that really sucks. And then tries to, swing it around to being like, oh, this is what our Audis do. We need to, get revenge. You got to stick up for Irving and complete this quest. And I think if she would have had a little bit gentler touch, maybe she could have kind of, reeled him back in. But he definitely just, he's just like, I guess I'm an asshole down here, right? And he burns her with the.
And if we're so different from our Audis, and how come we couldn't tell when you were gone?
Irving could.
Mark couldn't.
He really went hard on her. He went nuclear. So it appears like he doesn't think he is coming back. That's for sure. What do you think? Do you think Helly just, in her eagerness to get her mission accomplished or whatever, just pushed the man too much?
I think she just oversold, and classic case of you need to have all of them together because their personalities balance each other out so well. And I think it was just her one-on-one with him having the worst day. She thought maybe he would use it to motivate to get revenge, but it just didn't work. He's just completely checked out now.
We'll see. We'll save that for speculation. And then you have the Mark Cobell Devin reintegration plotline. I'll say up front, we only get the one here. Mark's still coughing, right? If you've watched Breaking Bad, you're just trained to look for the cough. Nothing good can come of that cough. That's all I'm saying. I have no idea what it means in this. Maybe it's just like seeing oranges in The Godfather. It just symbolizes danger. But this is Walter White's Chekhov's cough here, right?
Yeah. It's pretty brutal, man. I mean, the cough is just, and honestly, it's been steadily increasing over the last, handful of episodes here. So yeah, it's something.
We got some fun vehicle stuff too. You see Devin's got to go off-road here to meet Cobell. Luckily, she drives a golden car, a transporter of the Golden God. She's got the Rover there. It is an all-terrain vehicle. She and Dennis Reynolds are just both hanging in there on those old Rovers, rocking them good. And Cobell, she's doing it, man. She comes in, what does she do? Head-to-head car face-off. It's the one move we know we're getting Cobell. When the shit's going down, Cobell's going to drive right up to you and face off head to head with the cars, and you get out of the cars and you stare at each other head to head because that's how Cobell does it.
Yeah, dude, and it's an intense stare down, but it's got to be head to head, and yeah, she's just so good at this. I don't know what else to say. She's just so very good.
And shout out to her pointing out that when, Milchek's calling Mark, that look, just kind of not don't tell him the truth, but like if he smells any chicanery, the jig is up, and Mark smartly takes her advice in this for that, just to, he tries bullshit Milchek, and finally is like, yeah, you know what? I just needed a day. How surprised were you when Cobell confirmed that if Cold Harbor is finished, Gemma is dead? I think that's been speculated enough. I think a lot of people felt that it was true, but still a little jarring to hear it confirmed here. Obviously for us, but even more so for Mark, right?
Yeah, it was one of those ones for me where it was like, wow, like when we saw the Gemma episode, you got the feeling that they're just basically churning and burning and using her. And then when it's done, she's done. It was very eerie and vague, and how they kind of said what'll happen to her when she asked when the project's complete, will I see my mark and all this, So they just gave like the typical creepy Lumen answers or whatever. But I think I wasn't necessarily surprised, but I was just like, damn, like that kind of sucks.
It really does. And after all of this, we can speculate on it a little bit more, but I would say as of now, the whole reintegration plotline has been a bust because we're just back to the original plan of going to the cabin and talking to his Innie. Perhaps there will be more knowledge exchanged within that, but as of right now, it doesn't look like he really got much reintegration, right? Devin says this is her plan.
I'm sorry, the wind was whistling over the hole in the back of your skull, so I didn't quite get that. Did you just call my plan a fucking mistake?
He doesn't really like it, but they're going along with it because they have no other options. And ultimately, I think that's why he complies. And Devin points it out. What else? We have nothing. She's there. This is it. We got Cobell. You're going to have to deal with it. So that sucks for Mark. I mean, this is not really what he probably, the way he wanted to go about things.
Not at all. And I think from the show standpoint, I don't know if they just didn't give enough time to let this build up into more of a boiling pot prior to this final episode here. But it just felt like we didn't, the dude had brain surgery in his basement. And he even says that in here, but he literally had saying, we did brain surgery in the basement. All that was basically for naught. He drank weird, strange things in the fridge. What it give us, really? Not much. A couple of flashbacks, a couple of, he's confused type moments. Maybe it's all leading to though that he can have the conversation with himself in versus outie style. That seems to be where they're going. But man, they did a lot of work on that reintegration, made it a huge thing, and it just hasn't. It kind of fizzled, and now here we are at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think we were a little worried when it happened, but it's like, boy, if they're pulling the trigger this early,
Yeah,
why is that? What's going to happen? And the answer is, unfortunately, Ben, well, nothing's going to happen. So it didn't matter that they pulled the trigger a little bit early. You do get some nice callbacks here. Cool when Innie Mark first comes into the cabin and sees Devin, he's kind of shook and he's going to leave. And she's like, oh, no, he'll just come right back in, just like we saw in the pilot episode there. Same kind of thing at the end of the episode. Somebody pointed this out. It's beautiful. Both episode 9 of both seasons ends with Mark saying she's alive. Just a nice little parallel because episode 9 was the season 1 finale there. And just overall, I don't know. This is the big moment, right? Like, again, you don't want to get into the speculation, but we better be able to hear what the conversation they have in that room is.
yeah, yeah, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they do it too, and with Mark kind of going, I guess, in between consciousness here. It'll be interesting to see how they do it, but I expect it to pay off. They've been pretty good about everything so far, and overall the season's been incredible. So I expect it to, but it just felt like kind of last couple episodes here, we were just kind of we were real hot, and then we kind of fizzled a little bit, and then this penultimum just didn't get us back. So hopefully we get back in this next episode.
And of course, on the way in, we get the drop about possible secret Egans, right? Like she's one of James. Like the implication being he has had other women up in here birthing children ostensibly related to him. So you have to think they're not going to drop a nugget like that and never mention it again, right?
Right. I would hope not. I mean,
That would
that's
just be mean. And any surprise to see that Dr. Maurer was still alive? We saw Gemma really hit him over the head. It seems like it was his but a flesh wound. He's just got the little lumen bandages. He's watching the monitor there. I had some flashbacks, man. I've worked a sales job before, and you know what they say about a sales job that starts at 9 a.m.? They call you at 9 a.m. and ask why the numbers aren't moving. You don't even get a minute, man. Like about 10 seconds, the day started, it's like, yo, why aren't these numbers moving yet? So I do feel a little bit bad for everyone who works at Lumen. I mean, if they're monitoring like that's hard to do. Can't get the numbers jumping right from Jump Street, man. Like you got to warm up a little bit.
Yeah, you do. You do. You gotta build, you know. You can't just come in, but there's no time for that. Not on a day, not on a momentous day.
No, you barely have time to bleed, dude. Ain't got time to bleed.
I think we're going to be locked and loaded here for speculation station. Let's go ahead and leave that to the end of the episode. Right now, let's get into the award tour for the After Hours. And again, no weekend. You will not be getting any awards. This is all about Severance. First up, we got our favorite alternate episode titles.
The After Hours, while it has been used, pretty cool title, but we got a couple of alts here. Starting with number 3, there's going to be just a hint of Milchek here because we have remonstration. And if you're not familiar, it means to present and urge reasons in opposition. We get plenty of that in this episode. A lot of people are opposing each other. They want different things. So I think that is very, very fitting. So that's our number 3. At number 2, shout out Miss Wang. Maybe it wasn't her fault. Maybe it was. We're going with suboptimal facilitation. And that could definitely be what reintegration was, right? She tried, but it was not done optimally. Everybody has these ideas. Dylan wants to merge with Gretchen, the Innie version here, and it's just not happening. They want to facilitate with each other, but their approach is suboptimal. And at number 1, there's almost no way it could be anything else. Devour feculence. It's going to be a meme, a t-shirt. It's going to be everything. It will probably live longer than the show. So those are our 3 alternate episode titles: Remonstration, Suboptimal Facilitation, and Devour Feculence. I apologize for the third one not fitting the rhyme scheme.
Good choices there. All 3 work well. Stop number 2 here on the award tour is our favorite quotes. Mills, what words tickled your fancy here in the After Hours?
Because you pointed it out, I had a toss-up here between 2. I think it's too obvious to go with the Devour Feculence. I'll probably just go with that whole scene instead. Instead, I'm going to go with the little meeting here between Cobell and Mark.
How are you?
Oh my God, so good. My wife's being held prisoner at Lumen, and I just got brain surgery in my basement. How have you been?
Jamie G, if I didn't know better, I think Mark might have been being sarcastic there. I think there's at least a chance of that. Just a teensy tiny chance here. How about yourself, man? Favorite quote here? Are you going to go with the obvious one, or are you going to surprise me?
Well, Mills, you didn't want to go there. Your boy Jamie G is going there and doing a show there. Yeah, dude. When I hear Milchek say,
Devour feculence. It means eat shit, Mr. Drummond.
I can't think about something I've heard better than that recently. Oh, well, maybe Uncle Baby Billy and Gemstones, but this is way up there. This is fantastic stuff. I got to make it my quote.
Oh, and I'm going to use this in real. This is going to be very, very. This is going to get in the
Daily
rotation. This is going to be in the minimum the weekly rotation, if not the daily rotation, for a while.
Next up, we've got our favorite scene or moment from the After Hours. I'll go up first here. I got to go with the Bert and Irving kind of goodbye there at the train station. For just a minute, I thought maybe, Irving was going to talk him into it. And it was so interesting to see Irving smile when he gets on the train because he realized that he had been loved. At least a portion of him had been loved, something he's never known or felt his whole life. So I thought it was just a fascinating scene there, somewhat anticlimactic, but I really like kind of that, the 2 of them together with that big moment, and we'll see where it leads. I think it opened up more questions.
It definitely did, and it definitely made me want to yell at Irving a little bit. Like, man, do you not see that good dog next to you who's been following you everywhere? He's being a good dog.
I know, he's a good boy.
Next to you, he was in the back seat. That was the only reason I felt fairly comfortable Irving was going to be okay. I'm like, they wouldn't bring the dog because then they'd have to deal with the dog, and Severance is evil, but they're not that evil. So I felt a high degree of confidence in that. So I get it, Irving. You want some people love, but just don't forget about your furry friend there because he is a good boy. I obviously am going to go with the Milchek Mr. Drummond scene. It's absolutely fabulous. I stopped. I almost never in episode watching it the first time stop and rewind something. I had to watch that again. As first time I'm watching it, I had to just stop. All right, I have to. I just have to watch that again. So it couldn't be anything else. Although I did love Helly kind of sticking it to Milchek in their little meeting in his office they had. But definitely got to be Milchek and Drummond. Can't be anything else.
It is time to hand out the most important awards here, the biggest ones, starting off with our episode MVP.
I am up first here. Episode 1, I went Dylan. From there, Milchek, Mark, Irving, Dylan, Helly, Gemma, and Mrs. Cobell. I'm going with another repeat here. Hello, Mr. Milchek. You are now getting my MVP for the second time this season. We will see if you can make it a three-peat. Jamie G, thus far you have gone with Milchek, Helena, Dylan, Irving, Milchek, Mark, Gemma, and Mrs. Cobell. These have been pretty easy. The last couple episodes, we had some obvious choices. Are you going to give it to Milchek for the third time, or are you going elsewhere?
I gotta give it to Milchek, dude. I have to. I'm sorry. I wish I was different. For what it's worth, Mills and I do these individually prior to recording. We do not know who the other person is taking as MVP, and this is a classic case where we didn't know. But yeah, I got to give it to Milchek here. I mean, I got to. I guess
Everyone is pretty good, but I don't know if there's no obvious pivot. So yeah, I think we got to just double up on the milkshakes here. Extra thick.
the final stop on the award tour is our episode grades. We grade each episode of Severance on a scale of 0 to 100 cure coins. I'm up first here, Mills. For what it's worth, I graded episode 1 with 83 coins, episode 2, 84, episode 3, 86, episode 4, 94, episode 5, 88, episode 6, 89 coins, episode 7, 91 coins, episode 8, 90 coins. I am landing at 85 even coins here. Not my lowest rated, not my highest rated, kind of, my third lowest rated, I think. We're tied for third or fourth right in that region. So it was good, not great. But I think they accomplished what they needed to. And this was really the only window in which to do so. And I really hope and suspect that episode 10 is just going to be off the charts. Spoiler, little prediction, Mills. I'm hoping episode 10 is my highest rated episode of the season.
I am hoping the same thing. I'm just a little disappointed there over the previous 4 episodes. You had yourself an open-ended straight with the 88, 89, 90, 91. So you really needed an 87 or a 92 here. So I feel bad you didn't make your straight.
Well, I've got caught up chasing straights quite a bit, Mills. It usually doesn't pay off.
Yeah, they're right there next to Waterfalls, unfortunately. They're on the
It
Ortbo
was
and the
open-ended,
TLC
but
album.
it was open-ended, but
Just missed it by that much. For the record, starting in episode 1, I went 85 coins, 85, 87, 93, 87, 88, 94, 86. I'm going with a little bit of a repeat here, 88 cure coins, bumping it up maybe a touch more just because I do like that they took some stands here. They finally had some action on the Dylan plot line, on the Irving plot line. We got a lot of interesting stuff here. Cobell's coming back in the mix, but it's definitely getting an extra coin or two for Milchek this episode. He legitimately, like a good player can just take a team and just raise its upside, raise its ceiling. I think Milchek just raises the ceiling of this episode just enough. So I'm going with the double 88 cure coin. So 85, 88, 86 and a half ain't bad.
not at all. Get ready because the train, you hear that? That's right. The train is pulling in to Speculation Station. We're closing out the episode by discussing our favorite theories, questions, predictions, all of it. It's all good. It's all awesome. It's fun. Join us for a little fun. Mills, get started out here by telling us what we know so far about the season finale.
Well, here we go. Season 2, Episode 10, titled Cold Harbor. The short plot synopsis is Mark forms a shaky alliance in an all-or-nothing play while the team makes a dangerous last stand. Ben Stiller back in the director's chair, once again written by Dan Erickson, and we have a confirmed runtime of 76 minutes. Jamie G, that's a lot of minutes, man. Adding it up, that's basically a double longer here. You think are you ready for this, man? This is going to be a big one.
We're talking about an hour in not just change, we're talking about hour and a chunk here. So this is a lot for television. I am so excited about it. I will be ready come this weekend when it airs. But yeah, I think I'm ready to see kind of where they're going with this. Unfortunately, Mills, I don't think we're going to get any answers to the goat people. Not yet.
Well, all right, let's kind of start with that stuff. Who will we get in the finale? You know, obviously we're going to get some movement on Cold Harbor, but how about some of the ancillary stuff, starting with the characters who seemingly left in this episode? Irving, is he showing up in the finale? And if so, is it his Innie or his outie?
I think he is, but I think I don't see how it could be as in. I think it's going to be as well, interestingly enough, that train, maybe he winds up back at Lumen and as his Innie, but I'm gonna go he shows up but as his outie.
I'm going to go no Irving in the finale, but not off the show. I've read interviews with John Turturro. It seems very, very likely that he will be back for season 3. So I think one way or the other, he's not done. But even in this much of a runtime, I don't know that they have. That's going to really, I think, require resolving a couple of other plot lines. So I think they might let that one slide. I mean, how about Bert and Fields? Do you think we get either one of them here? I think maybe we get Bert if he was supposed to take Irving somewhere for Lumen and he didn't do it. I think maybe he gets a visit from Mr. Drummond or something like that. So I'm going with yes, we get Bert, and if we get Fields, it's just because he's there when Drummond or somebody shows up, something like that. What do you think? Are we getting Bert here in the finale?
Love the theory. But because I said yes to Irving, I'm going to say no to Bert because I don't think we can get both. But I do like I like your theory better though. So I think that we probably will. But I'm gonna stick with my guns here, and I'm gonna say no Bert, yes Irv.
Yeah, I think it undercuts their goodbye if they were to all of a sudden meet again just in the next episode. I think that would cheapen it a little bit. So I think that's the way to go. How about our favorite author, Rickon? Is he showing up in the season finale? I feel like kind of he has to, right? We haven't seen him hardly at all season. I feel like they got to get him in there at least for a scene, maybe.
Yeah, I just don't know how. I mean, I guess Rickon and the baby could with Devin. I'm gonna guess yes. But he just hasn't had a lot to do this season.
I could see somebody from Lumen showing up at his house asking where Devin and Mark are, maybe. I don't think that would be too big of a stretch. He's still working on the book for them theoretically. How about Natalie? You know, we see here the kind of the go-between for the board. She's interacted with Rickon. Maybe she shows up. Maybe I think some one way or another. You know, she's interacted with Cobell before. I feel like we got to get more inside Lumen stuff here. So I feel like she's got to be in the finale.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree with that.
How about Regabi? Is she just riding the night train to nowhere to maybe to be seen again in season 3? Or do you think we will get her back here in the finale to maybe, I don't know, deal with Cobell or something with reintegration or just anything?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we get her next season. It was interesting. Cobell name dropped her at the end of episode 8 when she's talking to Devin, but I don't know that that's going to go anywhere. I'm gonna say no.
I think that's probably right. Again, I don't know that they can jam absolutely everything into this episode. How about anybody from that replacement MDR team? You got a couple of actors we know in there. Did they really bring them on the show to do like 3 scenes? I guess they could, but would it really surprise them? You could throw the Go people in there. I think there's a decent chance that we're going to get pretty much everybody inside Lumen. You're going to the Go people, you're going to O&D. I mean, if you're going to spend the majority of the episode in Lumen, I think maybe you get a lot of that. The old replacement team, though, I don't know. I kind of wanted there to be more to it than that, but it's feeling like there's probably not.
Yeah, I wanted it too, and I like some of the people in there, and I thought it was fun. But I don't think we're getting them. And I just, you talked about might not have enough time to figure out Irving's situation. I don't see how there's going to be any time to deal with anything with the goat people. We still, I mean, you got a lot I get that they could probably sum it up in 10 minutes or whatever, but like, I don't know, man. It feels like that would be rushed. Something so big, something so intriguing to just rush it.
I don't know if they get answers. I say we'll see them. Perhaps like, you know what I mean? Everyone needs to gather all of the forces to help get someone onto the testing floor or something like that. You know what I mean? You get an all employee team up situation. I'm thinking it's kind of got to be something like that. They all kind of rally around for someone's kidnapped or something like that. Would it really surprise, like, I don't know, like Helly gets ghosted by James and then Mark comes back in and then they have to organize a rescue party. Now they're trying to save Helly and Mrs. Casey. And he goes for just tries to get everyone he can to help. Like, that's kind of the way I think it would be on some kind of like adventure or quest or rescue mission. Not like we're going to get a download about it. I don't think we're getting any answers on that, unfortunately. I think probably the only answer I'm truly expecting is Cold Harbor, right? I think we absolutely, not only do I want an answer, I wanted to like sit down and explain everything about Cold Harbor. It's the title of the episode. I'm pretty cool normally with letting things be a little bit vague. They've teased this one for so long. I think I absolutely 100% need very definitive answers on what Cold Harbor is, what it does, what it means, all of that. Are you in that boat with me, or are you willing to let him slide on it a little bit?
No, I think we need to resolve something. It's got and it needs to be something big, and I think that's kind of where this whole season was hung up on. So let's go ahead and resolve that, do enough, and then get us fired up for season 3.
I think that's fair. And we see Cold Harbor is stuck at 96%. So they make it seem like Mark can finish this in a day, right? He's just going to bang out this last 4%. I'm very curious as to how long he's been working on it for, because it had to have started sometime, I guess, in season 1, so not that long. But the way Cobell talks about it, like it's this world, altering project. Maybe because it's just the culmination of, they had to finish other stuff before they could get to it. But I don't know. I guess
Well, and it looks like 4% is basically one day's worth of work, right? So I mean,
right, you could bang it out in a month then, roughly,
yeah.
without too much of an issue. I mean, maybe even a little bit less than that, 3 weeks if you really wanted to be jamming on it. I think we have to assume one way or the other he's finishing Cold Harbor in the finale, right?
Yeah, I think that's where this all comes. It's either going to end or it's going to blow up. Something's going to happen with Cold Harbor. No question about it. Like it's coming to an head. It's coming to a head.
If the final shot of the season is just that percentage thing ticking to 100% and then they cut away, are you going to be pretty pissed? Because I can deal with a cliffhanger. They can't, they need to go past that point. I think if that's just the cliffhanger, unless we know exactly what it means. I guess at that point we know exactly what it means by getting, we've had all the other conversations and everything. Okay, but if they try to pull that, I'll be a little bit cross.
Yeah, I don't. I think that they know they've got to deliver something bigger. And to be honest with you, they haven't shied away from big moments this season. So, or how they finished season 1. So I do expect kind of I'm not going to say mind blowing type thing, but I think it's going to be a big finish.
You have to hope so. One little bit that I found interesting was Helly memorizing the directions. I'm guessing that's because something's going to happen and she gets taken and she has to remember where to go. So they're just kind of getting that out of the way. Otherwise, she has a piece of paper. It's an awful lot of stuff. I mean, it would be useful to do it, but it seemed like she decided she would memorize it instead of just going there, right? So they showed it. It's got to be for something. I'm just not sure what it could be other than, she needs to be able to maybe tell someone else how to get there without the paper or something.
Yeah, well, and
It's not like she can write that down real quick as she's leaving on the ball or in blood. People leave a message. It's a little bit too complex, I think, to really tell to anyone easily.
What's funny is it was overshadowed by the fact her father was on the floor. He went from not being involved basically the entire season from a day-to-day operation standpoint that we've seen really ever to now he's on the floor. So that kind of took away from the fact that she was, you know, profusely trying to memorize that and get it so she could just go without needing to look at it.
Well, one thing is interesting. Not too long before that, you actually see the testing floor elevator. The black elevator appears to come up, but we don't see who gets out of it. So there's a lot of speculation that he was coming up from the testing floor. So perhaps he is more involved with the Cold Harbor or the testing floor, or, because right now it just seems like he kind of sits at home and does weird stuff, right? Or he just shows up and is kind of like, just in the background being, all mysterious and whatnot. But perhaps he is more involved than we think, and he's actually on the testing floors. I don't know who else it could be, but I also don't know where. There's nothing good that can come of this for Helly, right?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think she's in trouble here. I mean, unless we're gonna get some sort of big reveal with her and him that she doesn't even know, right? Something like that could happen. But yeah, I don't see how it's good.
I mean, he says, "You tricked me, my Helly." So people are trying to read a lot into that. And I guess the obvious thing would be during the season one finale, right? She had the conversation where she was pretending to be Helena. So I guess surface level, that's what it could be. But, because it is Severance, I think everybody wants to dig into it a little bit more. Do you think we will get a payoff to either the reintegration or Mark's cough here? Or are they just both kind of going to be sidelined for a bit still?
I don't think we get anything. I think Mark's cough is just kind of a feature to remind us that reintegration happened because they haven't been able to really deliver it yet. Yeah, so I don't see how it's going to play a role in terms of him being able to get in and out of Lumen to get Gemma out, right? I mean, unless he goes in there as his outie and he just goes wild, I guess that's possible. And I guess then you could say it paid off, maybe, but they didn't do a ton with it.
They really haven't. I don't know that we will get any resolution of that, but how about Cobell? Do you think she's actually going to get back inside Lumen? Is she just going to be kind of on the outside on the phone? Will we not even see her in the finale? I think we have to get that conversation with her and Mark's Innie, but is there a chance that's it? And then once they go into Lumen, we're done with Cobell for the episode?
I think there is. I don't know how she can get back in. I think she's going to be more so kind of like on the sidelines directing the thing. I don't see how she's going to be able to get in. No question, she's going to be in the episode because they built everything up so that they were in that cabin. She's basically the moderator, facilitator of the conversation between the two. So I don't see any way possible that she's not in the episode, but I just don't see I don't see her getting back into Lumen.
I think that's probably right, unless she has a greater plan or a backdoor or something like that. Do you think we're going to see Milchek get in any trouble here? Maybe that creates an opening if Mr. Drummond decides to take action, or as long as Mark shows up, you think he's going to be all right?
I think if Mark shows up, he's going to be all right. But I think no matter what here, there's going to be some sort of reaction to his pushback of Drummond. And I don't think Milchek is done there. I think he's about to take some stand and kind of have his own strategy going. So I think it doesn't really matter because I think he's playing his own game now.
Do you think they're trying to set up a situation where Mark is going to have to more or less choose between either his innie or his outie, or maybe Helly or Gemma? Do you think they're kind of setting up to something like that? Because it feels all this has to come to a head somehow. It can't. I don't think we can have a perfectly happy ending for everybody. So something's got to give. Could Helly maybe sacrifice herself or her innie or whatever to save Gemma? Something like that. At the end there, when Dylan kind of goes into her, it makes me wonder if she's going to do something rash. And we have that scene at the very end of the intro credits for season 2, where it's that testing floor elevator and it kind of flashes between Helly and Gemma. So there has been some thought that Mark might have to make a choice, and maybe that's part of Cold Harbor, or, again, at this point, it can be so many different things. It's hard to pin it down exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's something has to happen here to kind of stop what's going, or at least delay it enough to let it bleed over to season 3. Something's got to give, though. We'll find out.
Right, be a little bit matrixy, like it's all about you have to make a choice, but there's, it's kind of a very, if you're going to root a show in philosophy and psychology, it kind of comes down to that at a certain point. How about the secret Egan thing? It's teed off here. I know Rickon has been a fairly popular candidate. If there is one of our existing characters who is an Egan, who do you think it is?
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna go with Bert.
Bert's a pretty good one. That's actually where I was thinking of going, but I will, just to make it interesting, I will go with Irving. Why not? It feels like he might have been around longer, so I think going with one of the two older people in the cast maybe gives you a little bit more, a couple more cracks at the apple, that kind of thing. So I will go with that way with it. I will say I'll be really disappointed if it turns out that Mark and Gemma are both secret Egans, and then we're doing an incest thing, and then we got to get our HBO subscriptions back to watch season 3 because we know that's how they roll over there. One other theory that hasn't come up much this season, but the idea, it was more prominent in season 1, that there is some time missing and that things don't quite fit together. as neatly as they could. Ben Stiller brought this up in an interview recently, so it's kind of maybe he's just messing with people, but it is attracting a little bit of attention. Remember in season 1, Mark had like the dates wrong for things. He was bringing the trash out on recycling day. His watch said the wrong time. So there is some concept here that I don't know. I guess they could reset this all and start again, or maybe they can change the memories, or he has a third, a third persona, second innie, whatever you want to call it. It wouldn't surprise me if this is worked into the finale somehow, especially if they're going to pull off a big twist. It's got to probably be something that was lurking around there the whole time, but you couldn't really quite figure it out because that's usually how the biggest and best twists fall off. Do you think we could be looking at a situation like that, or are they just messing with us? Any thoughts on that? The idea that there's some stuff we haven't seen in the timeline isn't exactly what we think it is.
Yeah, dude, I think that's such a Severance-y thing that it's not even funny. Like that, absolutely, I could see that happening. I can't. I just, there's so many different ways this episode can go. And the crazy thing about it is basically the future of the show, really, when you think about it, kind of depends on how this episode goes. So it's like there's a lot riding on this one, man. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think we need something here, something big, at least one big thing. And how do you quantify that? I don't know, but we need something.
I think that's fair. They've really kind of built this up to everything, and now you're going 74 minutes, a lot of hype. They put the pressure on themselves thus far. The show has always delivered. They certainly did it with the season 1 finale. So I am going to go ahead and trust everybody here that they're going to get the job done. And we'll finish off with a fun prediction. Everything happens in threes, right? So far, we have seen Cobell and Mark both ride in the back of Hampton's truck. That means in the finale, we're getting a third person riding in the back of Hampton's pickup truck. Who will it be?
All right, so it can't be Mark. It can't be
Devin's
Cobell.
the obvious one, right? But I don't know. I'm going with unknown third person. Maybe they smuggle someone out of the cabin. Maybe there's somebody else. It's either Devin or an unknown party.
I'm gonna go with Milchek.
Oh, well, maybe you can smuggle Milchek's whole bike in there.
You could.
Milchek gets
And
locked
his
out of Lumen.
magnificent
Remember they
helmet.
say, yeah, like they lock Lumen, they lock him out because he's trying to help or something like that, and you got to get him his motorbike. So I'm there if they want to do a crazy like motorbike chase sequence in the finale. I would not be expecting that, but I'd be okay with it. Milchek looked pretty damn cool on that bike.
And he had a magnificent helmet. And you guys are so magnificent for checking out another episode of My Cousin Innie. Make sure you let us know how you're approaching this season 2 finale, what you liked out of episode 9, what we might have missed. Best way to do it is throw the thumb and subscribe. If you haven't done that yet, then drop a comment below. Well, then Mills will let you know where we're at on social media. You can find us and you can send us all your theories and predictions. We can chat about it. We can do the thing.
Yeah, that will be the saddest part and the best part of going in between seasons again is we'll have some closure maybe on some of our theories, but then we'll have to spend hopefully not 2 years, but another long period with nothing but our theories to keep us company. But you'll also have My Cousin Innie right there with you. Thanks again for checking out the show. We are presented by Regular Dudes Watch Stuff. Find our content wherever you get your pods and on YouTube. We're on social media at Dudes Watch Stuff, same place on the web, dudeswatchstuff.com. We try to keep it as simple and easy to remember as possible, even at the risk of offending Mr. Milchek. That means we need you to remember the flaps, FLAPS. Follow, like, and please subscribe. If you had fun, please make sure that you hit the thumb. I'm Magnum Mills. He's Jamie G. Thanks again for checking out the show, and we will see you one more time this season when that elevator door opens.
Ooh, baby, I like